votes. We want you to know, brother, we're going to be with you no matter what you're doing because you've always been with us. Please welcome the state president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Brother Eric DeVos from Columbus, Georgia. Are y'all fired up? Are y'all fired up? I don't hear you. Are you fired up? Are you fired up? That's some law enforcement officers upstairs. They need to hear you. Are you fired up? Are you fired up? Are you fired up? No justice. No justice. It's the law enforcement officers upstairs that need to hear you. No justice. No justice. No justice. Let me first of all, before I get started, thank our good friend George Brown. I'm going to tell you why. I want you to remember Boston G.B.R. Anytime we don't get mainstream media, go to Boston G.B.R. and you will get the full story. Yes, anytime we get mainstream media, they'll hear a little bit of what you're saying, soundbite it. Go to Boston G.B.R. you get the whole story. Let's give it up for this brother out here telling the story.
And now let's give it up. And now let's give it up for the founding fathers of our great republic who set forth these fair laws, even though they may not have been intended for the black man, woman, and their children.
Welcome to the Ghetto Free Press. This is the voice of the people, the Ghetto Free Press. We report what others ignore. Round and around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows. But we the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, but this union cannot be formed without truth in the scales and balance. So get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, and let the water flow. For we are living in the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius represents the breaking of the water. And where there's water, there is new life. And the truth always brings about freedom. For without truth, there can be no freedom. Get ready, get ready, get ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I am Attorney Marlon Davis of the Davis Bozeman Law Firm. The family of Eric E.J. Sheppard has retained our law office to represent him. Currently, Mr. Sheppard is in hiding, in fear for his life, in fear for his safety, afraid both of the threats that he has received from what we believe are the real terrorists, as well as him being labeled armed and dangerous. And so we are here as a law firm with other members of the legal community, as well as other members of the community, to speak directly to Eric and let him know that he has legal representation and community support, and that we will protect him. We will ensure that his due process is adhered to, and that he will be represented with all the power, will, and might that we have as a law firm and as a legal community. And so there are a number of organizations that are here that want to speak directly to Eric, to encourage him and to make sure that he understands that he has the community support that he needs in order to start the process of turning himself in and then going through the process, the legal process. With that, I first want to introduce from the Nation of Islam, Minister Sharif. Minister Sharif is the Southeastern Regional Representative of the Nation of Islam and has come here today with members of the Nation of Islam to make very clear that his security, his safety is paramount and will not be forsaken, and that they will ensure that he is safe. We know that there have been a number, unfortunately, of African American men who have died at the hands of police in transport, that have died in custody, and they are here to ensure that that is not the case with Eric Sheppard. And so with that, I would introduce Minister Sharif.
I want Brother Eric to know that the Nation of Islam stands with him, we support him, and we want the community to know that we stand with Brother Eric, and we love our brother. So we're asking brother to do the right thing. We stand with him, and we love him. Peace.
We have also, obviously this incident stems from Valdosta, and Kendra Johnson's case has been one of the things that Eric has worked on diligently in supporting that family. And so the spokesperson for Kendra Johnson's family, Marcus Coleman from Saving Ourselves.
Good afternoon. First, I want to say we stand in solidarity with Baltimore, the countless cities around the country, and our global comrades in the seek for justice. Black Lives Matter. I want to make it understood on why it's necessary for the Davis and Bozeman Law Firm to represent Brother Eric. Having been on the ground in Valdosta, the climate down there has a serious racial undertone. After the demonstration that Brother Eric was responsible for, there was a counter demonstration. It was called Flags Over Valdosta, Flags Over Valdosta State. It was at least 500 people that stormed Valdosta. But what people don't know is that several members of the Ku Klux Klan were also involved in that rally. What people don't know is that there were several vigilantes in that rally that were actually doing a manhunt for Brother Eric. So we want to make sure, as what's been reiterated over and over again, that his safety is first and foremost. On behalf of the Johnson family, I'll mention this. At 3 o'clock today, the Johnson family are meeting with Chief Childress. They are meeting with Chief Childress because we are returning to Valdosta on May 23rd at 8 a.m. for a commemoration, celebration for Kendrick Johnson. So for all of the soldiers across the country, continue to unite, continue to unite, continue to unite in a safe transition for Brother Eric. Thank you.
From the Malcolm X grassroots movement, Sister Angie.
behalf of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, we want Eric to know that we support you, we are here for you, and we are in this for the long haul.
Thank you. Brother Deruba bin Wahad from the National Coalition to Combat Police Terrorism.
First of all, I would like the media to know that the National Coalition to Combat Police Terrorism is 100% behind this law firm and behind this brother. And that we will try to mobilize people in the community around this case, because the issue in this case is the validity and the moral value of Americanism and jingoistic nationalism. The white mob that came after this brother were talking about making the burning of the flag a crime. Already today, we know from Facebook, the recent Facebook arrests, that just to think about our reality is not criminal. So we support the brother. We ask that he realize that he has the support of the community. And on May 11th, we will be holding a town hall meeting right here in Atlanta to talk about decentralization of police and public safety, to talk about legislation to curb police violence and terrorism in this country, and also to talk about how do we deal with the police unions in the state of Georgia. So again, our solidarity is with this brother and with all of the people who are in the streets all across this country protesting police brutality, police terrorism, and white supremacy. We stand in solidarity with you, and we want you to know on May 11th, we have a town hall meeting right here in Atlanta to address those issues. Thank you.
From the National Action Network, Sister Helen.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the National Action Network, the Atlanta chapter, we want to let the family know that we support and we stand behind David Bozeman Law Firm, as well as Brother Eric. Again, from National Atlanta chapter of the National Action Network, we support you 100%.
Brother Kalanji from FTP Movement.
Just want to say that we definitely support Brother Eric Sheppard 150%. We think that his freedom of speech was under par. We think that the fact that he was brave enough to say what is on many African brothers and sisters around this country, to say exactly what's on their mind, we salute that. And we think that he has the right to his First Amendment. And we also believe that no one should feel threatened, to speak what is on their mind. And we stand by him, and FTP movement is with you.
Good afternoon. I'm 17th Soldier, free-range activist and supporter of Eric Sheppard. The main thing that I would like to understand and let the world know that Eric Sheppard is a valuable young man. He's a straight-A student. He has a double major in what he's studying in school right now. He's pretty much a coach and a mentor, and what you're trying to paint him as some sort of domestic terrorist or vigilante is not what he is. He's a valued asset to our community here in Atlanta, as well as my Boston. I appreciate it. We can get the right image presented for him so everyone knows that he's not armed and dangerous. He's a friend, a family member, someone's son, someone's grandson, and we would like him to return safely.
Are there any other organizations in the present that stand in solidarity with Eric and would like to make sure that he is aware of the support from the Black Law Students Association, Ms. Tatiana Lima?
On behalf of the Black Law Student Association, to Eric and his family, we stand and support your right to speak out against injustice, and we also commit to conducting any legal research that's necessary to help with your legal representation.
Any other organization present that would like to speak in solidarity to let Mr. Sheppard know that, and let Eric know that we're here? With that, I just want to make it clear, Eric, you know what this means. We're hopeful that you are able to get safely to our law firm so that we can get you turned in safely. That is our objective. That is our sole objective, is that you are able to return here safely, that you are able to have your day in court, and that you see You will be surrounded and protected by a community of people who believe in your right of freedom of speech, as well as your right to due process. With that, we'll take any questions.
Do you guys have any idea where he is right now?
No idea at all.
Are his parents here?
No, they're not. They are, and I will make it very clear, family members are very afraid for their own safety. There have been a number of death threats that have come across Facebook, and so the family is concerned for their own safety. So we can only imagine what this 21-year-old young man is feeling and experiencing, a student. As Brother 17 Soldier stated, he was coaching, mentoring, a double major in psychology and African American studies. He's a student activist, still learning and growing as a young person. And that should not be criminalized. And that is, I believe, the position of most of the activists that are present here and why we have taken up this representation.
Do you know if he's had contact with family members or anybody?
Family members have not had any contact with him. Everyone is, that's why this is so important, that this message go out to him wherever he is in the world so that he knows that he will be protected. The concern is clearly because you are in the custody of law enforcement does not mean that you're safe. In fact, being in the custody of law enforcement for many African American men have resulted in their injury or death. And so with that as a backdrop, this is what this brother is having to process and think through as he makes a decision. Some may say that he's being unlawful right now, but what's unlawful is what we see happening to Freddie Gray, to Walter Scott, to all of these African American men who during a police encounter end up dead. And that's the major concern. When he was labeled armed and dangerous, that turned the complete tide of him just being able to walk in with his mother and father holding his hand. He's been labeled, instead of a student activist, he has now been labeled armed and dangerous, which makes his life, puts his life in jeopardy.
Are police investigating the death threats to both him and the family?
We are reporting it. It's our intention to gather as much of that information as possible and provide it. I was contacted through our Davis Bozeman Law Facebook page, a young lady who reported it to Valdosta Police Department. She said she didn't receive any feedback. She heard herself some white students planning on physically assaulting him. She communicated that. She called the police. And as of now, we don't know what the extent of that investigation is. Instead, we know that they have done door-to-door searches looking for a student who, again, voiced his First Amendment right.
Do you think it's the right thing for him to turn himself in?
I don't know. It's only right if it's safe. That's the reality. It can only be right if it's safe. I would not ask anyone to turn themselves over into a situation where their life can be taken or they can be seriously injured. And so, unfortunately, the climate has been set, not by us. We're here because we're trying to counterbalance a climate that says he should be taken in any way possible. And I have yet to see a credible threat that he has made that would make him armed and dangerous. He is in the category of an armed robber. He is in the category of a murderer. He's in the category of a violent criminal. And even the charge of having a weapon in the school zone is not a violent crime. Merely having a weapon, if that was a crime, then a lot of us would be in trouble.
You mentioned the weapon at school, and before that, there have been several mentions of freedom of speech, but that's not what the arrest warrant is for.
Well, what the arrest warrant reads is that allegedly he has this firearm. But the underlying factor that we won't ignore, even though there are others that may, the underlying factor that makes Eric such a threat is his protest. That's why he was all over national media, because of the protest. And so the weapons in the gun, as far as we're concerned, that's an opportunity, a way to try to remove him from the street. And that is what this community, that's what this law firm is standing firmly against.
So you don't feel like that gun charge is a legitimate charge?
We don't know. We haven't been presented with any evidence. But what we do know is that the targeting of Eric began after he exercised his First Amendment right. That's when the vigilantes began to target him. That's when he began to have these increased encounters with law enforcement. And so we're very clear that his protest is what prompted the interest of law enforcement in him to begin with. And so, again, we find it strange that the police interact with him and he's not arrested. But then some hours later, they find a book bag that they attribute to him. They find a gun that they attribute to him after they've already met with him and spoken with him. Again, we are students of history, and we know that historically, unfortunately, too many African-American men have ended up in jail when they, in fact, were innocent. And so we're not going to stand here and say that the gun or the bag was Eric's. We want the opportunity for them to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law.
The police chief has told me that, and I'm not sure if he said that he has met with you or plans to meet with you and Eric's parents and get with the DA about possibly making it a little easier, or at least in his mind, to turn himself in, maybe not as quite as high a bond or something like that. Can you explain those conversations?
I would look forward to meeting with anyone with authority in Valdosta who has the power to help facilitate this in a way that the community and Eric feels as though it's safe. Right now, what he's being asked to do is to turn himself in without a bond, to go to a jail where in a community that has been very clear that he is at the very least hated, and that his life, many of the folks in that community, some of the folks, I would say, have made some threats. And so to put himself in that jail and not amongst the community, again, we don't see how that's a safe scenario. So our hope is that the powers that be in Valdosta who have the authority to set a bond, and what we would envision is a bond being set that he could sign himself. He has no criminal record, no criminal history. He was a student, and hopefully will continue to be a student, where he can be escorted into the jail, fingerprinted, and then these fine brothers and sisters for the Nation of Islam be able to escort him back to a safe location. We do not intend on allowing him to be escorted by anyone but members of this community. That's what the commitment is here, is that we will know his whereabouts throughout this process, and he won't just disappear for any period of time without one of us being able to see him and being able to ensure his safety. That's why this is so critical.
Are you able to put into words what his parents are going through right now?
His parents are being tormented. They are, as any parent, and we represent families all the time, myself and Attorney Bozeman, where we're standing with parents who have lost their loved one, and their loved one has been taken from them. And there's no pain like a mother having their son taken from them. And we've seen it time and time again. And so what's running through the mind of his mother is that they have labeled my baby, my child, armed and dangerous. Yet he has threatened no one. He has assaulted no one. But we have this ongoing pattern of seeing our young people assaulted, threatened, categorized as thugs. We see all of that playing out. And so this mother is extremely concerned and being tormented by the fact that she does not have her son in a safe place. And that's what's most alarming.
So much of this from the beginning into where we are right now is played out on social media. I mean, from that first Friday, that video that went viral with the ladies taking his flag. And now I think we're in a situation, if I read it right, where really Eric has become a hero to many people on social media, and they are praising him. And I'm just curious what you think about that, and if you think, obviously, I would imagine you feel it's good that his cause and the words that he has spoken in the past get out. But I'm also curious if you're concerned about the lifting him up so high, and that might create other problems with tensions and things like that. From the other side, maybe vilifying him more.
Well, I think that the reality is that the experience that Eric experienced, and I think birthed his commentary, is that an African American man is born in America as a suspect. Is born in America as a villain. And so there is nothing we can do. When I walk out of this door, when these brothers walk out of this door, we run the risk every day of being vilified by a law enforcement officer. So the idea that he is being lifted up as a hero, he's a bright, young African-American man that's a student that is now being criminalized. And so the community is saying very clearly, we're lifting him up because we think that we should have more critical thinkers. The notion, the very notion that when we talk about the new Jim Crow and the mass incarceration of African-American men, here's an African-American man that's in college. And this process is seeking to remove him from college and to put him in prison. And so, should he be a hero? I think under the conditions of oppression that many of us are experiencing, absolutely. And I would let, I know Brother 17 speak to that as well as anyone else.
I would like to address that question.
Sure.
First of all, perception is reality in America today. The perception managers in the United States, yourselves included, have demonized young black people, talked about them as thugs. These are our children. Have talked about them as thugs and criminals, forgetting that the process of criminalization begins with the system. The stop and frisk gives black kids a record. Stopping people while driving and driving while black, all of this harassment criminalizes the African community. So when this brother stood up and stated the truth about the symbolism, the perception of the American flag in the African community, he was stating a point of view that was based on historical reality. The historical reality of white supremacy, slavery, racist law enforcement, police terrorism. This is real. Even the President of the United States got on the radio or TV just the other day, trying to ameliorate the situation and talk sweet to white folks, but it's real. So if this brother becomes a hero to youth in the black community, it's only because he stood up for the truth in the face of tyranny. That's the only reason. If he was standing up demonizing white people in a racist fashion, if he was telling lies, if he was preaching hate, then he shouldn't be considered a hero. But he was telling the truth. And the truth is what has you here and that has him as a fugitive. And I want to point out that I believe that Attorney Mauli Bozeman is also representing another victim of police murder who was at his job when he was killed. He was working at his job when he was murdered, shot in the car when he was killed. And why did the police go with a SWAT team to arrest him? Because he had on his record that he has assaulted a police officer. He had got stopped for traffic violation, from what I understand. They beat him up and they charged him with assault of a police officer. Okay? That was months and months before this. But the fact that that assault was on his record justified the SWAT team coming to arrest him. And the fact that this man is labeled armed and dangerous where there is no evidence whatsoever that he has a history of this tells you that the objective of law enforcement is not only to demonize this man, but also to demonize what he said. Go back and read what he said. You were there, go see what he said. And go see what the white people from the neighborhood, from the area, who came the next day to demonstrate, see what they said.
You all's freedom and equality against who? The British. Your forefathers and your foremothers. 1776, you still had chattel slaves, did you not? All right. And thereafter, up until 1865, you released them from chattel slavery, but put them into another form of slavery immediately, which was the prison system, the convict lease system. You see what I'm saying? So now we have not only inherited physical slavery, but we've also inherited spiritual slavery under the form of, people were asking, why do you have the Bibles on the ground? How do you think we are spiritually enslaved? With that Christianity, that white Jesus, that the slave master has put on the African's mind.
But it doesn't say that Jesus was white.
Now, I know that.
But
We know
he's saying
that.
white people
Listen,
Christianity.
Revelation 21:13.
Okay.
We know that disproves. Oh man, we got a
I
crowd.
started some. I did.
Y'all can come in and listen if y'all are going there truly and quiet and not try to interject while I'm speaking to them. But You know that Revelation 21:13 says that he had hair like wool and skin like bronze. Now, first of all, it doesn't matter what is said in the Bible, but what is put forth and what is perpetuated. The interpretation that is perpetuated. The interpretation that was perpetuated is that Jesus was white. Okay, so what do you do psychologically? The psychosis of religion is that people always put themselves in the image of their Savior, their God, so they see that they are one with God and they act as God and they do what they feel God wants to happen for them. God is simply self. Everybody gets this lesson except for the African who has been colonized by the European. So what you do to the African when you give them a white Jesus is you're saying, I'm the closest related to God, therefore you defer to me. That self-conscious white supremacy that you're instilling in the African mind that African people don't seem to get when they praise white Jesus. But they praise a black Jesus. And they actually start to read the revolutionary text that was actually still installed in the European Bibles. You'll see that Jesus wasn't all docile and neutral or loving. He was flipping tables and clearing temples out with bullwhips, you see, when people were doing wicked things. So when you start to embody that revolutionary spirit as Christ did, was he not a revolutionary in the Bible? So people are saying we need to be Christians. Do you really know what it means to be a Christian? It means not to conform to the social order. Was this a conformity to the social order, what I did? Not at all. So who's God right now? Who's truly acting in the Christ consciousness? Not you all. Not them, but us. Us who act in the Christ consciousness. We embody what it means to be a Christ being, a Christ vehicle, a Christ vessel. You see what I'm saying? So the meaning, I want y'all to focus on me. I know what she's saying. The meaning for the stepping on the flag was that flag represents white supremacy, racism, which is plaguing the entire earth. You see? So when we step on that flag, we're stepping on racism, white supremacy. We're stepping on those things that mean that were erected alongside our genocide and our Holocaust. We're releasing those chains from our mental capacity and from our physical capacity. You see?
So you're not spitting on the people who are serving. You're not spitting on the people who are serving overseas
He's
at all.
spitting on the idea of the...
Roxanne?
That makes sense. That's why I came in at.
Right, and I'm glad you all came in and asked because I'm sure the white media put it forth that I am a terrorist, and indeed I am. I'm a terrorist towards lies. I'm a terrorist towards liars. I'm a terrorist towards those who are wicked. So yes, I am a terrorist towards white people. You see? So it needs to be understood, and what I was just saying to her, what I'm saying to you all is a warning of death that is coming upon this nation if y'all don't turn from y'all's ways. And this is the collective white race, but not just here in America, globally. All Europeans, you're not even indigenous to Europe. In every nation or every region of the planet Earth that you're in, you are an invader. Go back historically, the British invaded damn near half of the world. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And other Europeans have invaded other regions of the world. But every time you've gone in, what have you done? You have done nothing but destroy. And mind you, again, historically, one thing that most people don't know, it was Africans who brought civilization to Europe. Twice. Once under the Egyptians, we were bringing in the Greeks and the Romans, and then the second time under the Black Moors, who were bringing in and truly establishing the elaboration of civilization. So that's why we step on that flag, because that flag represents lies, it represents deceit, it represents the glory of white people that they like to put forth. And here's the thing, you can see the psychosis of Europeans where they value the menial things and not the grander things. Where are we at? We're in Valdosta, Georgia, right? Kendrick Johnson's death was covered up. So you care more about a cloth on the ground and me stepping on it with a boot than a black man's death. You're out your fucking mind. White people have been out their fucking mind ever since they stepped out of Europe. So that's what it is.
Talked about them as thugs. These are our children. I've talked about them as thugs and criminals, forgetting that the process of criminalization begins with the system. The stop and frisk gives black kids a record. Stopping people while driving and driving while black, all of this harassment criminalizes the African community. So when this brother stood up and stated the truth about the symbolism, the perception of the American flag in the African community, he was stating a point of view that was based on historical reality. The historical reality of white supremacy, slavery, racist law enforcement, police terrorism. This is real. Even the President of the United States got on the radio and TV just the other day, tried to ameliorate the situation and speak to white folks, but it's real. So if this brother becomes a hero to youth in the black community, it's only because he stood up for the truth in the face of tyranny. That's the only reason. If he was standing up demonizing white people in a racist fashion, if he was telling lies, if he was preaching hate, then he shouldn't be considered a hero. But he was telling the truth. And the truth is what has you here and that has him as a fugitive. And I want to point out that I believe that Attorney Mauli Bozeman is also representing another victim of police murder who was at his job when he was killed. He was working at his job when he was murdered, shot in the car when he was killed. And why did the police go with a SWAT team to arrest him? Because he had on his record that he has assaulted a police officer. He had got stopped in prison, he had got stopped for traffic violation, from what I understand. They beat him up and they charged him with assault of a police officer. Okay? That was months and months before this. But the fact that that assault was on his record justified the SWAT team coming to arrest him. And the fact that this man is labeled armed and dangerous where there is no evidence whatsoever that he has a history of this tells you that the objective of law enforcement is not only to demonize this man, but also to demonize what he said. Go back and read what he said. You were there, go see what he said. And go see what the white people from the neighborhood, from the area, who came the next day to demonstrate, see what they said. Go read what they said. Now you tell me, should he or should not be considered a hero by young black people in the community? A A student, a college student, a very bright young man, no criminal record, and he stands up and stands on the American flag and says that for African people in the United States, the American flag represents tyranny. It's true. Whether you like it or not, it's true. So I just want you to know that he is a hero. And white folks, he may be a demon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'd like to ask Marcus Coleman, because he was with the KJ case, he had followed that case, and my question to you, Mr. Coleman, is this. Can you find any parallel? I think you probably have more information about the KJ case. Can you kind of take the two and see similarities why the community and you all are so outspoken on this issue?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's our understanding that during this protest that Kendrick Johnson's name was being echoed over and over again. The whole Black Lives Matter notion, there's been myself and many others, including Mr. Eric, who was in Valdosta, that think that Kendrick Johnson's name needs to be included in this Black Lives Matter contest, or Black Lives Matter actually protest, excuse me. I'd just like to point out just one thing. It's very hypocritical. And a lot of us fought against what I'm about to say. It's hypocritical that in a state that we recently passed a guns everywhere bill that extends your carrying purposes or concealment abilities into churches, bars, and it lessened the penalty for college campuses. We had protests on the campuses of Georgia Tech when Georgia Tech students were being robbed and they wanted to be able to carry on college campuses. Now, I'm not here, this is Attorney Davis's arena to determine whether, or it's the state, excuse me, to determine whether he is guilty or innocent. And I'm glad Attorney Davis is on it. But let's be honest here. We are painting this man as an animal for allegedly having a weapon when our governor recently signed into law to loosen or lessen the penalty and fines for having a weapon on college campus. Very hypocritical. Kendrick Johnson is at the base of this. I'll say this and close. The counter-protest that was done by the 500 plus members from the local area and surrounding areas. Let's just be real here. It was done as a response and a reaction, not just to Mr. Sheppard, but the city of Valdosta is sick and tired of hearing about the name Kendrick Johnson. The city of Valdosta is sick and tired of any strong individual, especially a young black brother, that wants to stand up and put Valdosta on blast for their hypocrisy and some of their lawlessness within their agencies. So I'm very glad you asked that question, and Mr. Sheppard, we want you to know that on behalf of the Johnson family, we appreciate the support around Kendrick Johnson. We appreciate the support across the nation around Kendrick Johnson. But let's just be honest here. It is more than just the flag It is agents are running rampant through the city of Valdosta, and it is the Black Lives Matter movement that has a certain part of this population uneasy.
Pretty much Eric's safety is calling concern, because let's look at it like this. We had the Kendrick Johnson killed 2 years ago. His mother worked at the school for 10 years. So it was people that he knew. It was people that he played sports with, people he ate lunch with. This happened in school hours, that he was found rolled up in the gym. And so you got to understand that if you are going to be killed by someone that you're going to school with, the people that are vigilante just looking to see Mr. Sheppard's head on this in this situation, we have to understand that these are the same people that are out there right now. These are the same people the same department, police department, who has spent more time pursuing this young man than trying to find out exactly how Kendrick wound up in that man. And that when you look at the outpouring from the community that showed up 500 strong to protest the fact that Mr. Sheppard stood on a flag, as opposed to we found a young man wrapped in a gym mat 2 years ago, that speaks volumes of how the community at large views Black lives. And when you also look at the hypocrisy of how if we speak out against injustice, as opposed to just a week ago in Florida, they had a university of frat people who actually urinated on a veteran, his service dog, and as well as the flag. And no police were called. No one has pursued any arrest for these people that perpetrate this crime. They are not being villainized in the media as being troubled students or anything like that. So when you look at what we as Black people have to face in this country, so you have to understand that our reluctance to trust turn over one of our own. When we just had Freddie Gray, who was arrested for sagging pants, and as soon as he gets out of the truck, he has a 7-8, you know? And now they're trying to paint the picture of some sort of way he injured himself in transport. So we have a history of being disrespected by the law enforcement and by the community at large. So when you think about why we say Black Lives Matter, and then when you change to All Lives Matter, that shows that you have a fundamental disrespect and don't have empathy for us. And that's why it is paramount that we come together and show solidarity in this initiative.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ruby Sales, and I'm the founding director of the Spirit House Project, which is a national civil rights organization. And I want to make a statement. Our organization has been tracking these murders, state-sanctioned murders, since 2007. So we have more than 2,000 names accumulated. What I want to say is that we talk about the criminalization of African American people. We have to understand that criminalization sets African American people up for state-sanctioned murder, set us up to be murdered, where the nation, and that the real reason why our murder is obscured by the criminalization. So it's really important for us to understand that when we say that Eric is being set up to kill, we are not whistling in the dark. We stand on history. We stand on the history where African Americans in this country, men and women, are murdered by the police. And I think that this is although it's happening on a local level, I want to say that it's a national question. The safety of African American people from a militarized police force is a national question that we must have all hands on deck in order to address and to eliminate.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. Are there any other questions? If not, we're going to conclude.
Do you think it's possible brother could be held hostage somewhere?
We don't know his whereabouts. We are hopeful that he is safe. And if he is listening, we're hoping that he will find his way back here so that we can facilitate a safe surrender. Yes, sir, brother.
Oh, yeah. While we have Fox 5 microphones over here, I just wanted to know if you would be interested in changing the headline that you have for his case that's going on right now, the manhunt. It actually says there's a gun found on BSU student. It doesn't say that there was a gun leak. It says it's on him. So if nobody was to watch that video, it's going to automatically give them the appearance or make people at home feel that there's somebody out there with a gun on. You know what I mean? That's very important.
No,
That's skewing it from the beginning. So if it's going to be fair, you know what I mean? I think it's very important that you change that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. We want to make it clear. Anyone that can help Eric, our telephone number here is 404-244-2004. Again, 404-244-2004 to call so that we can assist, so that we can facilitate this community standing with you, Eric. We love you, we believe in you, and we will protect you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
I asked y'all to call me back because I'm coming. I wasn't sure if it was going to be today.
Yeah.
But it should be in y'all email. And that's the contact. You did good. I got over 700,000 views, 6,000 videos.
So you do have.
Yeah, well, this going to be on my YouTube channel. You will get it. In fact, I'm going to try to say it to you all.
Let me give you my card again.
Okay. All right.
So I wanted you, this is from our newspaper. Okay. Yeah, so I just pulled it off right because I didn't make it on the printer.
Okay, thank you. You stand up here. All right. Come this way a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Right there.